We have gone beyond recruit to say, how do we help the employees to say, I have opportunity inside this company rather than being recruited away. So the way we talk about is, find the talent you need and grow the talent you have.
You're listening to What Fuels You, where we deep dive with CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business leaders to learn more about their stories and uncover nuggets of wisdom we can all use. I'm your host, Shauna Swerland, CEO of Fuel Talent, an award-winning recruiting firm based in Seattle. Today's guest on the What Fuels You podcast is Anoop Gupta. Anoop is the CEO and co-founder of SeekOut, an AI-powered talent intelligence platform helping organizations recruit, retain, and grow their talent. Anoop started SeekOut after an 18-year career at Microsoft. During his tenure, Anoop was the corporate vice president of the multibillion-dollar unified communications group, Skype Exchange. He was also the TA to Bill Gates, advising on technology and product strategy. And as a distinguished scientist at MSR, he led work on AI, natural user interfaces, and telepresence. Prior to Microsoft, Anoop was a tenured professor at Stanford University, and he holds a Ph.D. in computer science from Carnegie Mellon University. Oh, no big deal. Welcome, Anoop. So good to see you.
Thank you, Shauna. It's so nice to connect. Happy New Year. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to hit you with rapid fire. My first question is, what would you consider like the best compliment you could receive?
The best compliment would be that I am kind, I am authentic, and I care deeply about what I'm doing and making a difference.
Well, I would say check, check, and check. I've known you for a long time now, and I would say 100% on all of those things. Is there a book or a podcast that you're reading or listening to right now that you are excited about, or that you've just basically lately, meaning in the last year?
Actually, as I was telling you, we went to Peru for the holidays, and the book I took with me was The Righteous Mind, and it is by Jonathan Haidt, Haidt. It is about, a book about morality and how, we think we are in the right. This shows a human tendency and not totally understanding the other people's point of view. And it is a fascinating book, given our politics, given our this thing. I always say, how can they ever think that? And this book enlightened me a little bit on where other people may be coming from, how people shape their politics. As liberals, some of us may shape it based on what is fair. Are we hurting somebody else? Other people bring, religion and the kind of authority figures and structures and how they define and the tribe mentality. And all of those are not just good or bad. They are historically often how we and what happened. So I think it's a fascinating book for people to take a look to.
I'm gonna do it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's the first thing that you do when you wake up?
When I wake up, the first thing is I spend around 15 seconds on the phone looking up if anything urgent came up. And then I go and get ready. Actually, before I do anything, I need to have shave, brush, shower, get ready. And that kind of wakes me up. I think the best thing, for me, at least, to really get engaged, even if I have less sleep, is to have a hot shower. I think that's the biggest convenience invention of the modern world.
Me too. I'm all about my morning shower. I get in the shower before the gym, and people are like, why'd you shower? I'm like, because I was asleep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the best. What's a guilty pleasure junk food item if you could just be like, oh, this will make me healthy, but it's so good and so naughty?
They're different. So I'm into ramen noodles. I love ramen noodles. They're not healthy, but if I have to eat and cook something light, so I'm into ramen noodles, big into chocolates. You know, France's chocolates are a big guilty pleasure, and I consume lots of their salted caramel.
Oh, those are beyond. Those are so good. So good. Okay. Now I know. That's awesome. And so do you have any hidden talents?
Do I have any hidden talents? So one is I love photography. And so, we have around 800 photographs from the Peru. I love sharing, a lot of the walls in the office, if I was to show you. So photography is a passion that is there. Second is I am into vegetable gardening. So I'm very fond of my tomatoes and they're amazing. And somebody just introduced me to a website where they sell these amazing, varieties of tomatoes, heirloom varieties. So
You'll have to send that to me because my husband David loves to also do vegetable garden.
oh,
So,
absolutely after this, I will send you the link. I usually plant seedlings, in a big. This is seed. And I ordered like $75 of seeds. Uh,
oh, wow. I'm gonna have to come check out your garden. Maybe come over for a salad. I love it. So
yeah.
is there someone that you think of, one of your ancestors or someone who's maybe passed on that you would love to be able to talk to or have lunch with?
One of my ancestors whom I might want to have lunch with, actually my maternal grandfather. I never had a chance to meet. He died within a year after I was born. And he influenced my mother, and my mother is my biggest hero. And,
Oh,
and the value she brings, and the care she brings, and the strength and determination for good that she brings. Um,
it's funny because I feel like we're like friends, but I don't know a lot. I mean, obviously, I got to research you for the podcast. I know that you grew up in Delhi, in India.
thank you.
And I also know that you moved around for your dad's work. I was surprised to see like including even Africa. So
Yeah.
tell me about how that shaped you. And you talked about your mom being your hero. Um, what was your childhood like?
So, I grew up in a middle class family. My father was a government employee in the electricity department. In the early stages, we were in the state of Punjab, which is close to Delhi, and got transferred every 3 years. So, it was pretty fun. It's not like kids out here, I'm in the school, can't move. There, if you have to move like an army brat or whatever else, you just move and you learn to make friends. So the opportunity, in 1972 is when my parents moved to Africa. They moved to Livingston for 3 years. And my father was to help run the power plant that was there on the Zambezi River. Livingston is the place which is right next to Victoria Falls, amazing huge falls. And my parents put me in boarding school. They said, oh, the school time, I go. But the government paid, both for winter holidays and summer holidays, we could go and travel there. So two kinds of stories I'll tell about you. One is in India. I was a very nitpicky, non-brave kid. I used to fuss about food, what I will eat, what I will not eat, how long I took to eat. My mom won't let my sisters get up until all of us finished. And my sisters absolutely hated me because I'll take infinite time in eating whatever I had to do. So they had to go. And so, I went to a very nice boarding school in Delhi. And within 3 months, I was totally fixed. I ate everything. I didn't fuss about anything. I was braver. So, uh, if you're having kid problems, send them to boarding school. Nobody cares whether you ate or not. And you say eventually, shit, I got to eat.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, here's our little feeding window, and take it or leave it. Where are you in the birth order? And you just have
I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest. So I have two older sisters.
two older sisters. And
Uh,
where are they now?
so one of my sisters is in Delhi, and the other is in Salem, New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And do you get to Delhi often?
I go twice a year. So my mother is now 92. And so, she says, you come and visit me and, we care. So I'll actually tell you a little bit about my mother and we can get to Africa after that. Um, so in many countries and cultures, there's thing, you're the younger son, you're the only son, come and stay. Stay in India, why are you leaving? Whatever else. My mother never, ever asked me to do that. She said, no, you pursue what will bring you happiness and success and, all of the things you want to explore. But the promise you have to make is come and visit me.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm guessing school was kind of your thing because obviously you went to these incredibly impressive, like prestigious colleges, including a PhD. Like, what was schooling like there compared to like how you've raised your kids?
So, schooling there is a little bit, more academically focused. But the boarding school I was in, our principal was a mountaineer. And so we went, on lots of hikes and crazy things. I tell people that there's the Jim Corbett National Park, and there's a book about the man-eater tigers, in that park. And in India, they said, oh, we were running for the Duke of Edinburgh Bronze Award. They said, go hiking on your own. So they sent 4 of us kids out into the to do our stuff. And
Wow.
so we used to do all kinds of crazy things. And then a little bit about, the Africa part. So this was 72. Firstly, in India, nobody used to do air travel. Secondly, air travel was fancy at that time.
Oh, yeah.
As unaccompanied minors, you'll get all kinds of privileges. And then thirdly, because the journey was Delhi to Mumbai, Mumbai to Nairobi, Nairobi to Lusaka, Lusaka to Livingston, there were a lot of steps and we would stop in between. And we all often won't go directly. We would stop in Tanzania or we will stop in, Mauritius or other countries. So we got to visit a lot of places at a young age. Okay, and all the game parks and national parks in Africa. So it really broadened my outlook.
Oh,
And
yeah. Your whole worldview is like,
yeah, the worldview compared to other things really broadened. And then what I did was end of high school. I flew from Delhi to Kabul because we couldn't go through Pakistan, and we hitchhiked our way to Western Europe. And
wow.
it was just amazing. I was on a $5 a day budget. And, we met so many people along the way who invited us to stay with them. So, we were with some Iranian people in Kabul. They were studying in India. They said, when you're in Tehran, come and stay with us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And so you ended up going to Indian Institute of Technology
Yes.
in Delhi. And is that, I mean, your parents must be very proud of you. What were you thinking when you made that choice as far as like what you wanted to be when you grew up?
So, there are two kinds of, Indian parents, though the parents didn't influence me that much. There's engineer, be a doctor, be one of those things, yeah, and professional, and IITs are the best. And so they have a huge entrance exam. They take probably around 1.5% of the people who take the entrance exam. It's a 2 day. I took the first day. My parents were in Africa. I said, I'm not going for the second day. I am definite I'm going to fail. I did not pass it. So, pretty terrible things, but I actually, of course, got in. So they are amazing, institutes, highly competitive. That are the people inside. So when I joined and I went there the first day, I said, no, I want to leave. There are too many smart people.
Too intense.
Too intense.
Yeah. Were you thinking you wanted to be an engineer?
What I wanted to be was more of a scientist, so it was engineering was a pathway actually to at that time get to the United States, get a PhD, get really deep into subjects.
Yeah.
And it was not, just become an engineer, though there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But my aspirations were to do a lot more and go deeper.
Yeah. So did you go straight from Delhi right to Carnegie Mellon?
Yes.
So you got your PhD at Carnegie Mellon. So there's no like, usually it's like undergrad, then master's, then PhD. You went straight.
Yeah, the way so CMU is that there is no separate masters. In our class, there were only 18 students in the
Oh,
PhD
wow.
program
Wow.
that they get. It was a very exclusive, again, program
Yeah.
and a lot of personalization and, personal attention. So it was a fantastic place for us to go. And Shauna, the biggest, uh, uh, not accomplishment, but the biggest thing out of CMU was, of course, I got an amazing education, but I met my wife there, and we've been married ever since.
Oh, yeah. And are you guys still in touch with your classmates? I'm sure they've gone on
Yeah,
to do incredible things.
yeah.
What an amazing network. So were you thinking, I want to go be an entrepreneur or an operator, but then you went and became a professor?
So I didn't know, many people know what they want to do. I didn't know I'll get a PhD. I didn't know somebody will hire me. So I'm very kind of, this syndrome, what would they call it? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Well,
So
you're so humble. I mean, for people listening, like obviously recruiting for 30 years, I've seen all sorts of resumes. Your resume is in the like 0.00000, like 1% of just pedigree. I mean, it's just incredible what you've accomplished. And you're so low key about it. So you were a professor at
Stanford,
Stanford for
yeah.
11
So,
years.
so, so, I went there. So I was very lucky and had great offers, and Stanford was amazing. Stanford was amazing in terms of the colleagues. I worked very closely with John Hennessy, then who was the president for a long time. We had a lot of students. We still stay in touch, and on that side of it. And so, we looked at doing a startup Stanford as a culture of professors go and do startups. It's not about just writing papers, it's about making a difference in the world. And so in 95, late 95, we decided to do a startup in the streaming media business. So it was just the days of the internet, the Netscape browser just come out, the Internet Explorer was just coming out. So myself, a couple of my students, and then Diane Green, who later attended, VMware, did that startup. And it was a lot of fun. It was a little crazy. We were all too young. We didn't know as much on how the world operates. There was a lot of, when I actually go and talk to people now, I said there was a lot of me versus we. Uh, at that stage of life, but we were, acquired by Microsoft in July '97, and then I spent 18 years there. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Tell me some of your key takeaways. I heard one that you just said just about like, transitioning your mindset from me to we. But Microsoft, you were there at such an incredibly exciting time and for such a long period. I've seen a lot of people who just kind of never leave, right? They're still at Microsoft. I'm sure you're in touch with a lot of them.
Yes.
What were some of your takeaways as now you're founder and CEO of SeekOut, which we're going to get to, but it gives you an opportunity as a CEO and founder to create a culture and a mindset of your own. What things did you take away from your experience at Microsoft from a culture standpoint?
So I think Microsoft at that time used to be a lot of different cultures. Steve Ballmer was CEO. When I left, Satya had just taken over as the CEO. And I worked closely with Bill Gates and all of the antitrust that was happening and how that impacted him. So if you would recall an image from that era of Microsoft is, a lot of guns pointing internally at each other, a lot of internal competition, for resources, big teams and everything else. And less in terms of, true innovation, although Bill was driving hard, a lot of the, leaders below I felt had their own agendas and, not necessarily coming from a bad place in the heart. But that was there. One of the things, uh, when I left Microsoft, I say at Microsoft, you need one person to say no for the project to be killed. Okay. While in the startup world, you need one person, one VC, one funder to say
To say
yes
yes. Yeah.
for you to
That's
be,
interesting. Yeah.
for you to be pursue the idea. So many, projects and ideas and good ones and bad ones got killed. And I don't want to at all say that was a bad thing for Microsoft in some. So in a large company, you got to bring focus and such as broad focus and what you do. But there was a deep desire in me to, go out and explore this thing. Ubers were happening and all kinds of
Oh
crazy
yeah.
things
Yeah. I mean, you had some significant roles. I know you were technology assistant to Bill Gates. Like, what does that mean to people? I've heard people say get Bill ready. Like, there has to be a certain way of conducting yourself and working at that level. Um, what did that mean to you? And tell me about that job.
Yeah, no, sure, sure. So the way to think about is, there are a lot of different things that Bill does, right? So it means he does a lot of product reviews, okay, because he is deep into products. He goes and makes a lot of visits. He used to go to Comdex and CS and a lot of things. Bill does, his Think Week is very famous, and I think it came out in a Netflix, where he goes away for a week and reads a lot of stuff. Okay. So I'll give an example from Think Week because it might be. So if he's going away for a week and reading a lot of stuff, a request is made to all of Microsoft, and otherwise, what should he go and read? So my job was to read everything in advance. I had a very good idea of Bill's interest, what's top of mind, and then select the things that actually went to him for reading.
Wow.
I had to go and do all of that, or if people were coming for product reviews or other kinds of things, I would talk to them and tell them and advise them and how it could be better. I used to run the for many parts of it, the Microsoft SLT, so that is Palmer and all the top level leaders and what the agendas and the topics and how we should have many of those meetings. And that was good. Sometimes and I'm sure Microsoft people, at least at that point, any large effort you do, you say how smooth and how they make decisions must be. In general, in any corporation at any level, one of my learnings was there was a lot of sausage making that happens, and the large companies are no different.
Yeah.
So, learning about all of that and how they operate and thinking, was really important. And there were many kind people who gave me opportunities to learn, which was wonderful.
Yeah. How did you navigate that when you talk about that culture of like, not like dog eat dog, but a little bit, super competitive, but you're trying to get projects done, get things across the finish line, not be bureaucratic. Is it to over communicate, or like what did you learn as far as how to communicate with others and influence? Because I think that I'm watching SeekOut. I've been watching since day one, and we can get to it, but you've just really blown the company up so quickly. And I'm guessing part of that is persistence, but also being, so approachable and so humble and so easy to communicate with.
Yeah. So
Did you learn that, or is that like, that's just who I am?
now that is who I am, but I learned a lot of things too. So the general thing is, if you're trying to make something happen, okay, one is you need to communicate, but the communicate is you need to understand the stakeholders. You need to understand their interests, where they're coming from. You have to make the case in a way that is, beneficial to them and their agenda in some sense. So I learned a lot about understanding and reading the stakeholders and communicating to them, making the case to them. And that is not a bad thing, that is a good skill, right?
Oh, for
All of
sure.
us, whether we talk to our spouse or our children, we are always trying to sell our ideas to them
100%.
and understanding that. And one of the actually, so now I'll go on a little tangent. Another book which I should have read a long time ago, I read Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference. So Chris Voss used to be a negotiator for the FBI for
Yep.
the hostages
Hostages. Yeah.
and everything else. And he talks about how everything is a negotiation in some sense. And how do you elicit and understand and communicate and what you do? It's a brilliant book that people should go and read if they haven't read it already.
Yeah. I've heard great things about it. I haven't read it, but I've read little clips from it, and it's actually been recommended. So I appreciate that. I always love getting nuggets. So you talked about having like a little bit, the Ubers starting and these other companies and having this entrepreneurial bug. What was the was there a moment of like, okay, I have to do this? I always love hearing those origin stories. Like, did you have like an idea and then you go find who you're going to do the idea with, or you're having drinks with friends or on a hike with friends and it's like, oh, we should do this? Like, how did the business
So,
come to be? And tell me about your co-founders.
so my co-founder, main one when we started was Arvind Bala. He used to be the dev manager for the group that I was leading. And,
Yeah.
we were trying to bring some big changes around. And he had an entrepreneurial spirit, wanted to do it. He was the loveliest person in terms of kindness and integrity and smarts. I've worked with a lot of smart people, from Stanford and other places, but his ability to get things done, to build things, to build prototypes was just amazing. So we both decided that we're gonna quit. And the way I, sometimes have talked about it, Shona, is that at Microsoft, they give you an 18-wheeler and they say, drive around and find innovation, right? So find innovation because it has to be big and huge and everything else. And what we wanted to do and start with is start on a mountain bike to be able to explore the nooks and crannies of the landscape. And we understand it is very hard, skin our knees. It's not like driving around in this comfortable big rig. That is there, and that is what we wanted to do. And, we want to thank Microsoft for giving us the financial background. So we said we can take off. And we didn't take off, with a specific idea. We knew we had so many ideas amongst us. And then we spent the first 3-4 months actually playing a lot of tennis, playing a lot of long lunges. And, we'll come up with ideas. We had a methodology for testing those ideas, and then we'll reject those ideas. And in fact, SeekOut started as a messaging company and not as a talent company.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. And when you're having these conversations together, how much of it is not like getting a prenup, but like almost like, hey, we're going through pre-marriage counseling. Like we got to work through like, do we want the same things? Do we have the same leadership styles? Like, do you complement one another as far as our two minds? Like how much did you just trust your gut and know like, oh, this is a proven person? Or were you like future casting on kind of all the what ifs?
Now, in this case, because Arvind and I had worked for quite a while, it was a proven thing.
Yeah.
He believed in the integrity and the good heart, and they were complementary skills. I don't code any. I've coded and everything else. I don't code any longer.
Yeah.
Does that part of it, but he has a business mind too, and I am deep technologist too, and I understand what's possible, not possible, what's interesting. So
how did you guys come up with the name? And you said the idea was a messaging platform, not in the talent space. What What was the original business and when did it pivot and why?
Okay, so the default name that we started with, because we didn't know what we were going to do, was Zipstorm. And in our contracts, you might still see Zipstorm. The company we built was, we said, how do we get people to open up to receiving communications and to reduce spam? So there, the notion was, think about email with a postage stamp, right? So you still get spam in your physical mail, but there's less because it costs actually money. You got to be selective who you send out and how you have conversations. So we said, for the attention economy, okay, we need to put constraints and friction on the sender side of the messages, controlled by the recipient, and still opening up to reach out because, you say we have something good to say. So we did that, but we were not successful, maybe not good marketing, maybe not good thinking, to get a very large community of people to do that. So for that, we did a bootstrapping this thing. We went and analyzed all resumes in the United States, and then we could tell you your career pathway is possible. What have people like you done? What companies they have gone to? What new different roles they have gone to? So we built something like that, actually a bootstrapping mechanism for the messaging business. Because then you sign up, you bring your profile, into the system. So the other side was not going up, but this side of having the career insights, knowing what is to be done, was getting a lot more traction and interest, both from recruiters and other people. And that is when we said, oh, this is not working. We decided to pivot around 2.5 years, two years into the business. So, and then the talent business then just grew from that. So we said, okay, this is helpful, but then how do we go beyond what LinkedIn does? And so we say diversity, and how do we get GitHub information, and how do we get papers, patterns, jobs, talent pool insights, emails, and ways to contact. And then now, of course, we have gone beyond recruit to say, how do we help the employees in a company to say, I have opportunity inside this company rather than being recruited away. Mm-hmm. So the way we talk about is, find the talent you need and grow the talent you have.
Yeah, I like that. And so how did you come up with the name SeekOut?
Okay, so so we were, so we started the company in the cabana of our house. We were sitting around and we say, oh, you're going to the talent and what names? So it just randomly arose from that. SeekOut, and then the domain is available and it's very relevant.
That's amazing. It's a perfect name. That's why I was like, oh, there's no way that it was available. And so I know the core part of the business, you've got SeekOut Recruit, you've got SeekOut Grow,
yes,
and SeekOut Assist.
Yeah.
Tell me about how all of those different businesses work. You started to get into it, but the core part was the SeekOut Recruit, and then you kind of expanded from there.
Yeah. So the way to think about it, the motivation is that, talent is foundational to companies, right? And you can't think of talent just as a recruit. You have talent inside, especially, for example, the recent times when the hiring is not so much the budgets are tight. You rarely need to see who you already have in the company. Who can you upscale? What can you do? So let me start with the recruit a little bit, and I'll tell you what migrated us to grow quite easily. And the SeekOut Assist is about the AI part, and it applies to both of those things. So on the recruit side, as I said, we were bringing in lots of different databases, public, profiles, GitHub profiles, and you have to match and build. So there's a very flexible and powerful database underneath, okay, which is, 1 billion profiles are being updated in real time all the time. There's a lot of noisy data that needs to be cleaned up. There are a lot of inferences that we do about skills of people, about the diversity of people, about the security clearances, all of those kinds of things you want to be able to show. So we built, that, and that is what people love about SeekOut Recruit, the many dimensions that we give them. Then you say when you go inside the company, the interesting thing is people don't understand the employees they have. There was some resume that got submitted, in an application that got thrown away. So they don't know the history. Then what they've done inside the company, people also don't understand. Okay, because the data is scattered. There's some in their HRIS workday, there's some in the learning management, but a lot of it is in the GitHubs and the Jiras and the Salesforce and the Asanas and all of the other systems. So people don't have the system that we had built for external, okay, was so that all of this internal data can also be very easily integrated in. Plus, we could bring the external information internal very, very quickly. Okay, so that became the foundation, and maybe I'll talk about actually some of our defense customers. Okay, this is really important to them because the defense customers succeed by bidding on projects. So Department of Defense says, hey, to enhance this particular, system, here's $500 million. What you're going to do, but they require you to say, you got to let us know who are the 1,000 people you're going to put on the project, that you have the right talent to go and do this. And they were doing it through spreadsheets because they don't know who are the people coming off the projects. They don't know what are the security clearances. All of it was in different databases and mechanical. So we can bring custom data into the foundation, and that becomes what we call the talent intelligence platform. And then on top of that, we build, solutions for the HR business partners and the business leaders. And then there is the employee side solutions, because we connect to the learning courses, the open jobs, to say, here are the opportunities for the employee, a self-service capability. So employees can discover and be notified of important opportunities they're interested in.
Yeah, it's amazing, like, to have watched on the sidelines and close up, and obviously using the platform, like, it's just been incredible. So when you first started, you considered, I guess, LinkedIn a competitor.
Yes.
How do you, if somebody's not using SeekOut and they're just curious, like, how does this compare to LinkedIn? What do you say when they ask? And then also, in case somebody's listening that might want to be a customer, is there a minimum size or a minimum number of seats that they need to have, like, size company?
Yeah. So, in terms of comparison to LinkedIn, we bring a lot of untapped talent, the talent that may not be there on LinkedIn to it, and a lot of inferred properties about the talents as a set. It's a much more, so, you win in that. It is a much more powerful search engine in finding people. It is a way to also contact people beyond emails. So, it is useful in that. So there are many dimensions in which it stands out. And some companies use us as a complement to LinkedIn in addition to LinkedIn, and some companies use us as a substitution for a part of their LinkedIn spend. There are no minimum sizes. So, we have companies, Shauna, like yourselves, which might be small businesses, but, very powerful and very, beneficial to the organizations that might use it. And we have some of the largest enterprises in the world also, using us.
Yeah.
So
And
both.
what's the business model?
So the business model is for the recruiting side, it is a per seat pricing with volume discount. Okay. The model for the SeekOut Grow side is based on number of employees that an organization has as we create opportunities for the employees.
And what if they use you for both? Are those like a merged, like?
I'm saying is, in enterprise sales, Shauna, it's always a little bit of negotiation.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And tell me about SeekOut Assist. I mean, obviously, having been in the recruiting space for so long, AI is something to pay very close attention to. How does SeekOut Assist work?
So SeekOut Assist, like the Microsoft Copilot is a general term we are using on how we bring AI into the recruiting world. So the first thing we shipped is, hey, job descriptions are kitchen sinks. Most people are not good at Boolean and how to construct meaningful searches. You just enter, the job description, paste the job description in whatever ugly format. We will extract the stuff from it and construct a search and give you results, okay, which are hopefully very good to begin with, but you can manipulate, it's never starting with a clean state, but starting with a slate so that you can build a search. We say from job description to candidates, within less than a minute or to engage. The second thing we started using it was for messaging. Again, you find a thing and you say, I've got to write a message. You want to personalize the message based on the job requirements, based on what you have done in the past. How does it match? Why is it meaningful work or whatever else? So generative AI can be very powerful in doing that, but there's a lot of refinement on how do you do it well. So we have shipped that.
Yeah.
The HR Tech Award for them.
Yeah,
Another
I
thing
saw that. That was amazing.
no, thank you, Shauna. Another thing that is shipping this month is conversational search. So think about it as following, right? I will take an analogy and then come to SeekOut. So if you look at Excel, Excel has so much functionality. People don't know how to use it. People don't know what to do. And imagine you could just simply say it in the English language, build me a pivot table. I want to be able to sort and search like this, remove the duplicates. You can do that. And you can do it because Excel is actually very, very powerful as a platform underneath. Just people don't know what it can do. People know 1%, 2%, 5% what Excel can do. Similarly, SeekOut underneath is a very powerful platform in the kinds of searches, the kind of filtering, the kinds of things you can do. And most recruiters know a very small part of SeekOut. So what the conversational search lets you do is expose the whole different capabilities. You can just say, find me people on West Coast cities. Find me people in
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Because I know you have trainings for Boolean searches, and we've done some of the trainings, but how cool, because you don't have to know all of the different ampersand and this, all the things. I mean, I'm old school. I do know some Boolean searches, but I'm much more of like a relationship building recruiter than using all the technology. Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Can a company just use SeekOut Assist without using SeekOut Recruit or SeekOut Grow?
No, so I'm saying SeekOut Assist is not a product. It
Oh,
is
it's not its own, it's just built under the other two
it's built on top.
or
So
on
as
top.
a recruiter, you can, do all your searches using SeekOut Assist and never go to any Boolean or anything else.
Yeah.
We also give you the power of our power filters and other kinds of things. So you can use just one, or you can use one to start and then add the power of the rest of the things. So if you say, oh, find me veterans, you've done a great search, but you can click on a button and, get just veteran candidates.
Yeah. So I know that for you, and I love this about you, culture is everything. I read about your culture, practice your values, practice gratitude, work collaboratively, stay curious, lift each other up. Those are all so reflective of, I haven't met your co-founder, but so reflective of your vibe and energy. I love it. Tell me about culture at SeekOut.
So culture used to be something theoretical to me when I was in Microsoft, things you put on the website or whatever. And it really hit us when we went into COVID we went all remote, and we said, let's start getting together. And we said, in this time when there is a lot of pain for people, let us start with, we had weekly all hands meeting. We started spending the first 15 minutes on gratitude. And the whole thing is that our mindset, the approach we take to problem, the approach we take to circumstances matters. Okay.
100%.
And that is where gratitude and kindness has served us so well. How people became vulnerable, people told stories, how we came together, and the culture propagated as we grew because people learn from stories. People learn what culture is from the stories that people tell. And to this day, we have that practice. So, we can leave it there, but, that is what made it real. It was real stories, it was real people, it was real how people behave. And that is what culture is about, and how you're on a common mission to make a difference, make a positive difference.
Yeah, I've only heard of people loving working there, so I'm not surprised. And I know obviously you've achieved incredible success, so many awards as a CEO, as a company, and you're, the whole unicorn status, all of it is super exciting. Where do you go from here?
So, the whole Gen AI thing, Gen AI is actually very exciting to us. And you'll say why. So I'll give you a very simple, perspective. So all of, what we deal with people, finding them for jobs or how they can grow, it is about understanding people better. What skills they have, what experiences they have, what they can do. Turns out a lot of it is written in the English language. When you look at a resume, you have to read as a human what they did. Did they use this to build an application used by millions of 5 people? Or what kind of security, if you're working at SpaceX versus a car company? All of those things are in the English language. And then a lot of it is in the code you wrote or Salesforce, what you did. The power of Gen AI is that you can now start understanding that English, and you can start reasoning with that English language and the code and everything else. So I think we are all in a time of big transformation and revolution in some sense, because we will be able to go much deeper than we have ever done. And you couldn't do that 1 year before, and you can do that now. And the technology is evolving very fast. So what you will be able to do is going to be so much fun. So that is, so AI not as a theoretical as a buzzword, but there are some deep changes that are going to happen, and we are excited to be at the forefront and enabling and bringing those changes to life.
Yeah, I'm excited to continue to watch and cheer you on. My final question for you before I say goodbye is, what fuels you?
It's a very deep question, Shauna. I've been blessed in life in many ways, so it is a question I ask. What drives me and what do I care about? So I think there are 3 things. The first is I love working with good people. Working with colleagues where you come in and you say you're excited and you explore and they're kind and they're smart and so people, the colleagues, the people you work with is really important to me. The second thing for me is, are we innovating? Are we bringing something new? Are we generating new capabilities? I think that innovation is very important. And that is my background. That is what I've done. That I believe is my superpower in some sense. So leveraging that is really important. And the third thing is, it is not just innovation, it is making a difference. So that is the business side of it. I don't want to just create something. I want to make a difference in the world, right? So that side is the third one. And all those three, I think, are the drivers for me from a business side.
Thank you for listening to the What Fuels You podcast. If you'd like to check out past episodes to hear from more business leaders, go to fueltalent.com/podcast. And if you have a minute, please leave a review and rating on your favorite podcast app, or share this episode with a friend or colleague. Please share any feedback or interview suggestions for other guests by sending a message to podcast@fueltalent.com. I'm Shauna Swerland, and thanks again for listening.